look at the virtual reality event held on campus.
And we explore Fort Collins' new city plans for the city. All this and more on CTV News starting now.
Good evening, Rams. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Edgar Studio. Here's what's happening in the news near you. A Jeep parked in the administration building yesterday burst into flames on Monday afternoon. Campus police responded to reports of a small fire in the passenger seat of the Jeep at 12:22 in the afternoon, but the fire later consumed the rest of the vehicle. Poudre Fire Authority dispatched an engine to the fire and was eventually extinguished at 12:33. The Jeep was irreparably damaged and vehicles on either side were harmed as well. No one was injured as a result of the fire. The cause of the blaze is still under investigation.
Starting on October 29th, CSU faculty and staff have the opportunity to make changes to their university health benefits, to add or drop dependents, and to sign up for new programs. This period is the only time changes can be made, with the exception of changes in marital status, adoption, or the birth of a new child. This opportunity lasts until November 16th, and all changes go into effect on January 1st.
The City of Fort Collins partnered with CSU's Center for Public Deliberation to reach out to students in hopes of helping the city create a master plan for the next 20 years.
The City of Fort Collins is looking for community input from a variety of people living within the city, ranging from students to long-term residents on its city plan.
We're one of several different community partners who are partnering with the city to engage different groups in city plan.
City planners are looking at a variety of options for how the city will look in the next 20 years.
Groups that may not be showing up to city council meetings or things like that.
During the planning stages, city planners found that residents care about Fort Collins being a livable, sustainable community with this small town feel.
So in this particular case, we're working on engaging students in city plan.
The city acknowledges that with a growing city, it will not only have impacts here in Fort Collins, but on surrounding cities as well.
And asks questions around transportation and housing and what students would like to see in those areas for the future of Fort Collins.
The city is looking at different areas within Fort Collins to see how it will be built out within 20 years.
Looking at how different choices that we make will actually impact housing or transportation in the city.
The city hopes to have the city plan finished by the winter of this year before it goes to city council for a vote.
Even though students may only be here for a couple of years, I think it's still really important for them to be able to impact the city that they live in, because there's a lot of these things that affect students.
If you would like to weigh on the plan, the city is taking input until November 2nd. For more information, you can visit their website at ourcity.fcgov.com/cityplan.
During this past weekend's RAM Reality event, teams of tech producers and artists collaborated in a competition to create virtual reality concepts. 3 winners were selected. First place, which included a $3,000 prize, went to Vroom Vroom for their program to test the status of concussion victims. Second place, a $1,500 payday, was awarded to the Climate Changers for their immersive VR technology that places users in environments expected to be affected by climate change. Third place, which received $1,000, went to Protovisus for their software simulating the structure of microscopic proteins. Create-a-thon participants had just 3 days to design and produce live demos of these virtual reality concepts. For those who say you can't put a deadline on creativity, I beg to differ.
Transferring colleges can be a difficult experience for a student, but CSU has a variety of programs designed to help students make the meaningful transition to the university. One of the most successful programs is a partnership with Front Range Community College called Bridge to Baccalaureate that helps transfer students studying science succeed at CSU. But whether students are coming from a junior college, the military, or another 4-year institution, there are resources to assist them.
The field of virtual and augmented reality is rapidly advancing. To address significant trends in these evolving technologies, CSU hosted an entire weekend of events dedicated to the digital developments. The 2018 HP Virtual and Augmented Reality Symposium was held in the Laurie Student Center last Friday. The event kicked off the RAM Reality Weekend at CSU, a university initiative showcasing events and classes focused on mixed reality technologies. The symposium featured 5 speakers who each discussed a topic related to their respective field of research or expertise. Speakers included Caden Strand, CEO of Blue Penguin, a virtual reality and augmented reality software development service, as well as Michael Humphrey, Assistant Professor of Journalism and Media Communication at CSU. Symposium topics included using VR to solve practical problems, improvement of mental health treatment, and the future of digital storytelling.
It's changing the way that people do research, it's changing the way that people study and understand things. You can study anatomy without having to open up a body. As cliche as this is, virtual reality is the future. So I think the more that we know about it and the more that we, as students, are able to have a better understanding of how it works, we kind of get an upper hand once we graduate.
I think that really in any industry kind of that you're looking at, you can find use cases for virtual reality, and it's just kind of, it's a great technology to jump on. I actually also run some demos for our customers when they come to visit at work at HP. It can be kind of disorienting just because sometimes it feels a little too real in the sense, you know, like you think back to like your first roller coaster ride or something like that. Like there's just so much that is just inexplicable, and so we get that kind of a lot where a lot of people are just saying like, wow, I can't believe it feels this real.
The RAM Create-a-thon, a competition to design a VR concept, was held the weekend following the symposium. During this 3-day competition, teams of software developers, programmers, artists, and innovators engaged in collaborative development of mixed reality experiences. The event culminated with live demos of all the proposed programs and 3 winners being selected. The winning creations of the RAM Create-a-thon are now on display at the RAM Reality Showcase in the Morgan Library. Although it is not certain what exactly the future of virtual and augmented reality will hold, there is no doubt that these technologies will change the way we view the world around us.
The CSU Health Network held their 2nd annual Student Health Fair last Thursday, which featured more than 30 different booths throughout the facility. The booths were featured through different services that the health center provides, from optometry to dentistry. Many of the booths were interactive and featured games and prizes. Over 400 students attended the fair, and over 200 free flu shots were administered to those in attendance. The fair came as a part of the continued effort to familiarize students with the resources available to them at the health center.
Are you looking for the chance to explore the solar system? The Madison McDonald Observatory gives students the opportunity to do just that. The observatory gives students studying astronomy access to hands-on experience, and it is also available for special viewing groups and public viewing nights. The building is located at the intersection of Pitkin Street and East Drive, and it has been an astronomical resource since 1965.
The CSU football team's annual border war game against the University of Wyoming is coming to campus on Friday. But do you know how that's going to affect your parking? Roads and parking lots around campus will close in the afternoon on October 26th, and there will be no way for vehicles to leave campus after 5 in the evening due to changes in traffic patterns. That being said, students are expected to attend their classes and go about their daily routines as they would on a normal day. Students living in Braden and Newsom Halls are expected to have their vehicles moved by 8 in the morning on Friday, and repark begins on Thursday afternoon. Parking lots will open at 5 in the evening on Friday, when kickoff will be at 8.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of hassle of parking just to make way for football, but I mean, people love their sports, right?
Especially on a Friday. That's going to be interesting to see how campus works. So.
Oh yes.
Well, that's all we have for news.
Stay tuned for weather, sports, and entertainment, all coming up on CTV.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. but I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Good evening, Rams. I am your weather anchor, Allie Peters, here with your current conditions in Fort Collins. It is a nice 59 degrees, still pretty warm for the evening, but the sun did set at 6:08 p.m., so it's going to start to get a little bit colder as the night goes on. CSU's campus today was covered with clouds, but it wasn't too windy to add to the cold. The leaves are really starting to fall off the trees, except for some trees around campus are really holding on to their fall leaves. Like this red tree is still holding on to its bright red and orange colors, and the squirrels are still out and about around campus. Moving into your overnight lows for the state of Colorado, we're in the 40s from Fort Collins all the way down to Pueblo, and 45 over in Grand Junction, and it's going to be coldest down in Telluride at 32, and we can expect some snow down in the mountain areas. Tomorrow's forecast, you're going to have a high of 66 degrees, starting to warm up this week. Is going to be partly cloudy all day with slight winds at 7 miles per hour. And as we're moving closer and closer to daylight savings, their sunsets are getting earlier. Tomorrow's will be at 6:06 p.m. Tomorrow's highs for the state of Colorado are in the 60s around most of the state, 66 in Fort Collins, in Denver, up in Sterling and Craig we're in the 60s, and again coldest down in Telluride at 46, where we can expect some snow from Telluride up into the Vail area. Looking at your 5-day forecast for the week, today it was 61. It just gets warmer as we go. 66 tomorrow and 68 on Thursday. It is going to be cloudy both of those days, but Friday we are going to have sun all day, and it's going to be a nice 69 degrees moving into your Wyoming football game. That's all I have for you, Rams. I'm your weather, Allie Peters, and stay tuned for Sports with Jason.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Life on Mars, Nikola Tesla, Clean Energy, and Frankenstein. It's all part of the Big Think, the 3rd annual Fort Collins Book Festival, October 19th and 20th. More than 35 storytellers, scientists, and writers, including Andy Weir, the best-selling author of The Martian, present free writing workshop, book talks, panel discussions, and more. Information is available at focobookfest.org.
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back from the break. I'm your sports anchor, Jason Ortiz, and I'm here to break down all the action in CSU athletics. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The Colorado State women's golf team wrapped up the Las Vegas Collegiate Showdown, carding a 2-over par on day 3, and finished the whole tournament at 2 over. CSU was led by Ellen Secor, who recorded a 3-under par today, and finished with an overall 3-under par. Also, Katrina Prendergast, who led for the Rams all week, but struggled on the course shooting 2 over 74 today, dropping from 8th all the way to 18th. CSU finished in 8th as a team. Recently, we hit the plaza to test CSU students' knowledge of CSU athletics.
Can you name any CSU football players?
Nick Stevens, I don't know.
Quarterbacks like Carter Samuels or something.
Malcolm and Nico.
Taiwan and
Nico.
I know he's on last year. His last name was Gallup or something.
I know we had Michael Gallup last year.
Do you know who the women's volleyball head coach is?
Do you know the head coach of the volleyball team?
No.
Have you been to a volleyball game?
Freshman year.
Yeah, freshman year.
What year are you now?
Junior.
Can you name one player?
Oh, Bree.
Bree who?
I don't know Bree's last name. I just know Bree.
Can you name another player?
Jessica.
Jessica who?
I don't know Jessica Latin.
Maddie Fouts, Kirsty Hillier.
So do you know who the new men's basketball coach is?
No.
Can you name any men's basketball players?
We have Jeremiah Page, and then the big guy, Nico, and then one guy's last name is Bonner, and that's all I know.
Do you know who the head basketball coach is?
I do not. I don't know anything about CSU basketball.
I know that he coached for Drake, I think.
Yeah, Nico.
Nico who?
I don't know.
After talking to them, I think we need to get more students to some sporting events. Yikes. After a tough loss to Boise, CSU looks to bounce back, and as we all know, this Friday is the border war. It's the 110th meeting overall between CSU and Wyoming. CSU leads the series 58-46 with 5 ties as well. Looking at how the teams stack up against each other this year, CSU and Wyoming, CSU has almost double the amount of receiving yards that Wyoming has, but the rushing attack this year, net yards wise, CSU lacks. Touchdowns almost doubled again, and that comes on receiving because they have 20 receiving touchdowns, CSU does. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, 14 sacks on the defensive side for CSU, 12 for Wyoming. 6 turnovers, though, for CSU, and obviously 5 for Wyoming. The main thing here, though, is penalties. CSU has 63 penalties on the year, and they've racked up 507 yards in penalties, and that's been killing a lot of their drives this year. Wyoming, they have similar stats, so it looks like these teams are pretty even. Without the receiving yards, they look pretty even. Some pretty high expectations for this year's game, and now joining me, I have CTV football reporter Sydney Wickard, and we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect in this game. So what do you see going into this game, Sydney?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Jason. But it's going to be a tough game for CSU. I feel like that's how they've been all year a little bit. You never know what to expect from this CSU football team. Wyoming really has had some tough games these past couple weeks, though. I know they played Utah State where they only lost 24-16, which is pretty good because Utah State's probably one of the best teams in the Mountain West this year. So it'll be really interesting to see how CSU comes out and play. But I feel like from this CSU football team so far this year, you never know what's going to come out on the field. We always are having quarterback switches. We're always having some kind of different mindset on the team. I think that comes a lot from Coach Bobo this year. So we'll have to see what team really decides to come out and play this year. Coach Bobo did announce yesterday that Colin Hill will be starting as quarterback for Wyoming. They're going to have a different quarterback starting this week as well. Their normal quarterback, Sean Chambers, who averaged 62 yards in the last game, won't be starting. They're going to have Zach Watts, who's a freshman, actually from Colorado, who will be suiting up for this first game. So it'll be interesting to see how both of these fresh quarterbacks kind of start the game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Colin Hill at quarterback because he had a good fourth quarter against Boise. But that's not, you don't know if did Boise have all their starters in? We don't know. However, I see if CSU gets the passing game going, they're hard to stop. When you have Olabisi Johnson, Preston Williams, and Warren Jackson all on the field at the same time, those are three probably the best wide receivers in the Mountain West. And if they can get them the ball, it's going to look like it'll be an easy game for them.
Preston Williams, who is only a junior this year, can be dangerous when you get the ball in his hands. So he's really impressive to watch, and he's been really fun to watch this year. He's averaged 825 receiving yards this year, and he's also had 8 receiving touchdowns, which is awesome. But someone to look out for on Wyoming's side of the ball is their running back, Nico Evans. They've been huge on the running game this year, and Evans has averaged 803 running yards, so he's right behind Preston Williams in the receiving aspect there. So it'll be really interesting to see how those two kind of match up on this field. But I think it's going to be a close game. And if CSU doesn't pull off a win here, they're not looking at a bowl game, I don't think, for this season.
Yeah, even sitting right now, their chances of making a bowl game with having Utah State still on the schedule, Air Force, it's going to be tough to make a bowl game. A key contributor in this game has got to be CSU's defensive line. They got to step up. They got to shut down the run game for Wyoming. If Wyoming can't run the ball, then make them throw it, and that's where all CSU's main skill guys are at the defensive back position. Jordan Fogle, Jamal Hicks, some of the best guys that are on the team, and they never see the ball because the run defense hasn't been there.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the CSU defense comes out. I think it'll be a great test for Bobo and for this team as a whole this year. So we'll see how they do as a whole. But Jason, aside from football news, the World Series is currently happening right now.
Yes.
I know you're a huge Dodgers fan.
Oh, a big Dodgers fan. I mean, right now, it's 2-1, Red Sox.
All right.
But, you know, there's still a lot of game left.
Yeah.
And there's also a 7-game series, so they got in the bag. It's all right. No
We'll
worries.
see how it goes. I'm hoping the Red Sox win, just because you always give me crap about liking Michigan. So
I mean, you
we'll
know.
see how they do.
Fair enough. All right, so you guys know what time it is. Top plays. Man, give me that. So right here, we have Cole the T-Dog. And this came from his Twitter page. And it's T-Dog Cole, at T-Dog Cole. And it's just, he's a 3-sport athlete. Football, basketball, pretty sure it's volleyball. This dog is, for Boise State, it's amazing. Right here we have Warren Jackson, is in the 4th quarter. A little bit of garbage time touchdown, but it was still a good play done. Kaylee Lordman, what can you say? She just dropped a bomb from outside the 18-meter box and got it past the keeper. That was a big win for on senior day. So, I mean, I don't know what you say. That dog is probably the coolest dog I've ever seen.
I was in Boise last weekend for that game. I got to meet Cole myself. I got a picture with him, and he is by far one of the most talented dogs I've ever seen. And I have a dog of my own, and I was in love with this dog. So it was pretty cool.
Should have picked him up and brought him home.
I should have. He would have been great.
Probably has a lot of security on him, though.
He does. He does. He actually has 2 little people that follow him around the whole game.
Man.
So
That's a cool dog.
It's pretty cool.
Well, that's it for me, Rams. Make sure you follow the CTV Twitter page to stay up to date on CSU sports throughout the week. But don't go anywhere. Justin has all your entertainment news up next.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Welcome back, Rams. I'm your host, Justin Rios, back with an exciting entertainment report. Let's dive right in. Have you been to the movies lately? Well, the Morgan Library at CSU is celebrating International Open Access Week this Friday with a free, yes, I said free, screening of the documentary Paywall, The Business of Scholarship on Thursday, October 25th from noon to 1:30 in the afternoon. International Open Access Week runs this week, celebrating the academic and research community's ability to spill the tea and share important information. School and homework are such a drag, but these queens really know how to lighten the load and have a good time.
Welcome to the CSU Drag Show. How you doing?
You ready for a good show?
I love that it's on campus. I think it's really unique that this college does something like this. I transferred here and they didn't have shows where I came from, so I'm really excited to be part of this.
Prism hosted the CSU Fall Throwback Drag Show this past weekend at the LSC, serving up some sick dance moves, hilarious jokes, with a special guest performance by Peppermint from RuPaul's Drag Race.
The drag show has given us all an opportunity to grow in terms of discovering and exploring not only like our gender, but our gender performance, right? Like our whole thing right now with the costumes is like taking these jerseys, which are traditionally, you know, toxic and masculinity, and mixing them with our heels with some femininity, and kind of representing that there can be an absolute blend of these things. And it represents not only in our apparel, but in the choreography too.
Where's that cash going? Well, Jessica said it best.
for donating all of the money to the Resource Center here at CSU.
What the university is providing for the students, it's more of like a welcoming gesture saying, hey, we have drag queens here, you know, be yourself, be who you are, and that means a lot to a lot of students.
These kings and queens had a lot to live up to performing at the biggest university drag show in Colorado. And they made sure to give the audience a lip sync extravaganza for their lives.
The CSU Drag Show was a total drag, in a great way. If you missed the show, you can tune in next semester for the Spring Drag Show. I know I'll be there. The apocalypse is a current American horror story that frightens conspiracy theorists everywhere. But don't be afraid of the dark. Fraternity Theta Chi took charge with the apocalyptic theme for their 7th annual haunted house this past weekend. Theta Chi's cryptic haunted house scared visitors' wits with horrifying images of the end times while shaking their cash out of their pockets. For charity, of course. The money for this spooky event goes to the United Services Organization. Hopefully we can stay united before global warming spooks us to a real apocalypse. The Fort Collins Book Festival returned this past weekend with The Big Think, asking hard-hitting questions like, what if and what else? The Book Festival is a free 2-day event for all you book-loving fanatics out there. Featured authors included Andy Weir and Kimiko Han at CSU and Old Firehouse Bookstore. With more than 35 authors and 40 sessions, I had to know the status of the next book festival.
I feel like this year kind of started off playing with like a food idea, so I'd almost kind of like just to see it actually do that and kind of, you know, explore that genre of things. So who knows?
I feel like it's time to crack open Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'm crossing my fingers for my acceptance letter to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry next semester. Well, rounds, I'm all out of time. Tune in tomorrow for Humans of CSU, same time, same channel. Take care, have a great evening, and good night.